Okay. I'm glad that what she did. First, it is girlfriend relationship.
How are you? Don't you love him? Love his sweet. Yes. Oh, right. Oh, that just is your place. That's what Barb said. Oh, you got the boat out? You only got an hour. When you get down there, you're in trouble. No, time to leave. Bye-bye. You can have the house. Do they leave it clean for you when they leave? No, I don't mind either one. It's just changing all the beds and making Phil's already quiet. It's not even, it's not on my vacation.
Let me go check the park.
I'm not sure. Yes. Yes. I'm the same way.
There was always sometimes you get a body in room. They always wanted to sometimes you had to bring it to the lobby.
So this
Brought it from
Ray's gonna go, actually, it's a Marriott Suites.
Right.
And I talked to a friend yesterday, it's like bed, actually, there's two rooms. And I'm looking at another area, so I, as long as he does it, he's got a place to go, he can do it, that's all I care. You gotta find the house. Okay. Nice. Okay. Well, I think they got 10 to 15 rooms. So I'm gonna try to get there. We can show up breakfast the next morning too. 3 o'clock runs.
Everybody.
He said, well, you want me to go? I said, I just don't want to travel from York to Monterey.
I think there's a lot of that.
He says he went to every country except Nigeria. And so this is
Everybody,
India
I
that's
mean,
been
we never
kind
had
of get here together tomorrow. It's like, I'm not going to try to be there. Right, and that's kind of what they do. They put it out there. We had just bought a place in Texas, and I was like, yeah, I want to do this here.
Tell you a lot of history, a lot of feedback like that. So it's kind of cool.
Hey, Jack, how you doing? Good. I'm getting better.
Well, I just learned from 2 wills to 1
2 to 1, maybe tomorrow will be 0. You know,
No, actually, it was really the house, that's why.
Well, we'll have to yell a little bit today. Doesn't seem to be working.
It's working, you're good.
I can turn it up if you do.
Want to welcome everybody to the June meeting of the POA. Thanks for coming out. Is there anyone here that's attending their first POA meeting, or maybe the first in a long time? Well, that's nice that we're getting the same people all the time. Okay, first note is a review of the minutes from the May 19th, or the 20th.
minutes look good, Chuck. I moved with approve.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Now, this meeting, the people from Abacus will be here for the financial reviews, since we messed up last month because of weather.
Yep.
So I'll let Eric take that part.
Yeah, and so we've got Abacus here, they kind of review our financials each year as prescribed by the covenants for a third-party review. We have Sabrina here and John, and so they conducted the 2024 review. We kind of got it posted up on the TVs over here. That was the best output that I could have. I did try a projector screen, but the TVs were actually better for it. A lot more clear. I'll also post the 2024, now that the review's finals done, to the website, and then I can also post the PowerPoint slides as well if anybody has any trouble seeing them. But till then, I'm going to give the floor to either, I guess, Sabrina.
All right, hello everybody, my name is Sabrina. I am the audit department lead and I have John Holmes, one of our partners at the firm. At Abacus, we've been doing the third-party review for Stonebridge for at least 5 years, probably longer. So I have some 5-year historical data to show in comparison. The review covers 2 periods and then just kind of go over the results. We don't issue an opinion, but it's clean financials ultimately, so no material modifications. That's in the weeds of the draft, but we're here to try to focus on what the data is showing, and I want to thank you guys for having us here. Closer?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this good?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to stay here for that. Alrighty, so just some general recommendations, which we've been working with Eric with already in progress for the 2024 review. So this will be a lot easier in 2025. Bank reconciliations, if there's old items related to checks that have not cleared, we want to get that cleaned up for 2025. There are some leasing arrangements that I know we have on the books, so just making sure that we're in compliance. If you guys want some background, a few years ago, leases, so if you rented a building, you would just have to record the expense. Now you record an asset and a liability. So buildings, copiers, vehicles, things like that. So you guys have golf carts as your leases, as an example. Fixed asset listing for old items, so ones that are fully depreciated but are still on your listing, making sure we regularly review that. All common things that we see with different organizations. So just keeping that top of mind. Different journal entries we made. So specific to 2024, we had some payables and prepaids and cleanup of old accounts that we worked with Eric to clean up this year. Every year we do deferred tax asset. So if you, since it's a corporation, you pay income tax on a portion of the activities, and then long-term debt and depreciation. So these are just some journal entries that we make. If you wanted more background on or needed more information, I can let you know, but also pretty common with organizations we work with, converting them from your internal financials to what we have to do for GAAP accounting. Any questions on those two items? Okay, we'll get to the numbers themselves. Okay, this isn't super awful. I tried to make it big on there. So your revenue, gross revenue in 2024 was a little over 6 million. Yeah, thanks. And then in 2023, it was 5.6. So you saw an increase in your gross revenue. We did see an increase in the cost of sales as well, and that could be related to a lot of times the food and beverage for what you guys have going on. Gross profit being up about 400,000, and then you have your operating expenses being up about 600,000, and then a smaller profit margin this year with the increase in fund balance compared to last year. So that's a 2-year highlights without doing the other income and expenses. So trending towards still being a healthy organization, no concerns as far as the revenue and just improving, and we'll see that 5-year comparisons as well. Revenue by department is what I have here, a nice little pie chart. And I will tell you the 51%, the largest, is the common areas revenue. And then we have the golf bringing in 32% of revenue, food and beverage 16%, and the townhome 1%. So that's how your revenue is split and generated. Any questions on some of the revenue or what I've shown so far? Okay. Expenses by department, so similar allocation, just a little different. 47 for the common area, golf being 32, and then your food and beverage and your townhome take up more of the expense than it does of the revenue portion there, but very comparable. So even if we flip back to the revenue here and then expense, there's a slight shift in the actual ratios of what those departments are doing. Okay. So this graph right here is of that common area, which I notated that's about 50% of your revenue and expenses. Here we have the 5-year trend, and this is based off of how it's mapped into our financials. So we have 2020 is the first number, and then 2024. First bar is revenue, expenses is the middle one, and then net income is the lower one. So here we can see that revenue trended up, and then it took a dip after 2022 to remain stable. Your expenses continue to steadily increase, so then it caused your net income to follow the same trend of the revenue. And that's that common area. which,
In 2021 was the special road assessment, so that's why you see that big spike, at least in 2021. 2022, we kind of had PPP loan forgiveness and ERC, so that's why you see another spike. But then it kind of, you see it gaining revenues in 2023, 2024, as we did generate more revenues in golf and food and beverage. So you see it stabilize out. But the two spikes are partially the government funds and then the special road assessment in 2021 that probably everybody remembers.
yep, yeah. The COVID-19 PPP and ERC definitely made the time frame from about 2018 to 2023 look different, and you don't follow that same trend. And like I said, yeah, with that revenue piece, that would make sense. So we saw that pattern in a lot of organizations and with you guys, and that's the underlying items that happened because of that. So golf financial trends is the next area, and again, 2020 is the first graph, and then 2024. What I'd like to point out is, at least based on this graph, 2020 actually had a net loss. So that bar is below, and that's that third one, and then it has increased into 2024. 2021 was that spike year, kind of similar to PPP and the COVID and how things were allocated. Also probably being outdoor, people could go do things. Golfing was one of them. So you can see, other than that unique year of 2021, there is a pretty steady trend from 2020 to 2024 in revenue and expenses. All right, food and beverage. This is historically a net loss. So of all the other areas, the departments, there's net revenue. In food and beverage, there's a net loss that's generated. 2022 being the biggest net loss, and then even from 2020 to 2024, pretty comparable. Your revenue and your revenue is going up, but it can't compete with your cost of sales. And that could also be some of that allocation towards it.
Payroll is a big one, you know, I mean, we can increase revenue, but at the same time we increase revenue and bring in more business, it also means it requires more people with certain setups. And that's something we've always chased, I should say, within our state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the food and beverage industry, you can see trends like that, and as you described. The next area being the townhome financial trends. This one, I know we redid some mapping, so what accounts actually fit townhomes this year. And with that came out to where it's really small revenue, but consistent, and then a large amount of expenses.
Yeah, 2024 is kind of whenever Focal Point took over. It's a third-party outsourced maintenance for yard care and leaf removal and irrigation. Was going to be more expensive going in because we used to maintain it in-house. In 2024, you know, Focal Point cost around $83,000 for their lawn maintenance care. We also did a 5-year cutback of trees, which was only once every 5 years at $22,500. And then there was irrigation repairs within townhome of around $19,000. So it was a heavier expense year. We kind of knew that going in just as well, but that's where that relation's at.
Yeah. Thanks, Eric, for providing that additional detail as well. Okay, I think that might be the last department. Any questions on the different departments or details you guys would need? All right, next we have the cash flow analysis by account type. So the first bar is operating, then general, and then road reserve. So the operating spiked in 2021 as expected with the cash flow from PPP and ERC, and then has kind of took a dip and then increased. And we talked about the different maintenance items. Still, especially from 2020, the operating has pretty consistent, the road reserve has grown, and the general reserve has decreased because of that, or due to the operations.
In 2023 is also where you see the dip from 2022. We also did that golf cart pad project at the end of 2023, which was to the tune of $500,000. And so that's where you're going to see that larger dip from 22 to 2023. But then we begin to rise again in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you guys had a lot of pretty cash built up to be able to do a lot of the things that you guys had, and you can see that with those projects, so being able to have that cash flow and monitoring that is really good. Accounts receivable, so we did see at the end of 2024, an increase compared to 2020. And then accounts payable kind of had an interesting trend just due to, again, that 2021 year probably paid stuff up earlier and then went back up.
And then we've kind of started too, since then, we pre-order chemicals in the golf course maintenance, actually. We put in an order actually in the fall, so we create a payable. It's actually not due until about June, some come due in April, but it's an early buyer discount to try to reduce the cost for golf course maintenance, so that's whenever that trend began to happen. And the cost of chemicals have gone up, just like everything else, kind of year over year, so that's where you see that biggest spike rising up.
One really good thing to point out is I have your AP aging here. Between 79 and over 100% and our student discounts is current. So your AP isn't old, it's not outstanding, you're paying your bills timely, which is really important. You have the cash flow to do that. Even as AR has increased, it's not impacted the paying of the bill. So we do like to consider what is revenue, what's expenses, on an accrual basis, what's the actual cash that's happening. So that's why we talked about revenue, then threw in the cash flow and AP and AR, because that's how you can pay those things and generate your income and expenses and your future reserves and expenditures. This is membership analysis. You guys are pretty consistent year over year, not much fluctuation with full year members and timeshare members. I think there's been some changes, but not enough to be super visible. Yeah, we moved far, so now finalization of the report. It's now is finalized, so I'll send it. We can be able to issue it, and then we'll have a tax return as well, and then we'll work with you guys starting on your 2025 review during 2025, and look forward to seeing you guys next year. If you guys have any questions, you can contact us. I'd be happy to answer, and Eric is also very can answer them as well, and then John. Eric or John, do you have anything else to add or any questions?
I do not currently.
Okay. Alrighty, well, thank you guys for your time. If there's anything, so doing these presentations, the formal PowerPoint is something we're adding and expanding to our delivery services. So if there's something you like, have feedback on, let us know. We want to, this presentation is for you guys. We know accounting, but if there's something you need to say in a way that helps you guys understand or you understand, please let us know. And that's what we want to do, is give you a good presentation. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Eric, you want to do the general manager's review first?
Yeah, that's fine. I can talk about a few things that we have going on, kind of what to expect. So currently it's hot. I know that it turned from spring to summertime pretty quick. We've had a lot of activity within food and beverage. I would say golf course, which we'll see in the financials. I can run a few revenues. We're just busy kind of in all revenue streams, quite honestly. And I'm sure each department is feeling it. We're currently going through a note renewal process as well. We've got a couple bids out to Central Bank, who we currently bank with, have our notes with. It's kind of where all of our operations are at. And then we actually did get a second bid from Branson Bank. So they both kind of came in aggressive. Information's been sent out to the Finance Committee, also been distributed to the board and kind of receiving comments. I will say we would expect to see an interest expense increase just simply because the rates are not what they were whenever we locked in 4.19% a few years ago. You know, going rates about 7.5%. We're seeing rates better than that, but just kind of in discussion. So we should see our interest expense go up in the latter half of this year, and we'll just hope that maybe interest rates will come down in the near future. Some think they should have already came down this year, but we haven't. Maybe we'll see a couple rate increases in the latter part of the year. Kind of gate operations. Owners might have noticed that we had first, maybe about end of May, going into the beginning of June. We had our East Gate that was affected. Got hit by lightning somewhere around the end of May. And so we had to begin to start troubleshooting it. And may remember the East Gate exit up for some time. That's because initially it was just a control board there. So we actually had to prop the gate up just to make sure that people could at least exit and not have to use the West Gate. But going through the lightning strike process, we had to replace the board on the West Gate tower. Then we had to replace the switch, PoE switch. We had to replace a new modem, a new router, RS-232 module, which creates our Door King software to communicate to the West East Gate for new gate devices. So there were some owners for about a week time that weren't able to access that. It's been fully functional now for at least about the past week and a half, 2 weeks. And then we also actually had to replace a control board on the East Gate entrance side. A lot of these things had lights on, but they just weren't functioning normally, so that was our search. Right now, we kind of have not maybe a big issue, but there is an issue we know of on the West Gate owner's side. At times you may have seen it up, or maybe some cones, depending on the time of night it is. There's a short in one of the wires that are going to the control box to actually that East Gate member entrance tower. So at times it is acting up a little bit. When it is, those kind of get it straight up before they can actually reset. We've got it scheduled with our security company, Britton, to come out. They're going to have to identify which wire it is, but then it does have conduit, so nothing too crazy, but identify the wire, officially wire, and it should be resolved back to normal. One other thing that everybody might have seen, I'll give you an update, was just kind of bridge repairs. Everybody saw that the bridge recently had kind of a detour. It was about last weekend, going to about middle of maybe this week. He's got to get away from me right now. We plan to re-roof both the guard shacks, East Gate, West Gate, and then the bridge at the same time. We're going to go with stone-coated steel, which is similar to what's happening on the barbecue pit. Number 5 and 15 halfway house, and then the pump house on 17, if anybody's familiar. But it's a good material, it's durable. So we were going to replace the roofs. And replacing the roofs, we did have a bridge, an engineer come out and look at the bridge. It's about 25 or 30 years old. It does have horizontal support beams going through those 4 columns that actually provide some roof support. Within the bridge stone columns, there's actually steel beams that go up, kind of horseshoe bracket and a metal plate to provide extra support. Over the years, some water has gotten in as those support beams kind of have a 45-degree cut in it going back towards the bridge. They're exposed to rain and some mechanical weathering. Water flows into the lowest spot. There's been some deterioration in those. So we got to bid out to another engineer, I should say, for options. And then some costs. We'll have that coming up. For now, there is a temporary support brace kind of in there that was signed off on the engineers, so we're good to go for a little while, but it will be a task that we'll be undertaking, we're already undertaking. Outside of that, that's kind of the main things, at least to kind of highlight for right now. Go into the finances.
You're updating me as well.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Some people may have them Technicolor type. For the month of May, and we'll kind of stay in this left-hand column, left-hand side middle column. We will revert over to the right-hand side middle column. Left-hand side is current month. Right-hand side middle column will be year-to-date. So we'll start at the bottom line on the left-hand side, where we have net income at a positive $82,285. That was better than our budgeted figure of the $51,169 by $31,116. Within the month, really all areas, whether that was common area, golf, townhome, food and beverage, all contributed positively when compared to the budget, which would be off to the right-hand side of that left-hand middle column. Kind of starting at the top in the green block, assessment revenue came in at $230,522. Activities and facility fees, $1,157. That was lower than budget of $3,881. We did have that Derby event cancellation, so that kind of factored in somewhat there. Welcome center lease revenue stayed constant at $7,279, and then nightly rental fee revenue pretty well stayed constant at $26,945. We did conduct 1,860 check-ins in the month of May, and year to date we're about 5,450. So slightly ahead of budget, slightly ahead of last year. And other revenue, you can see that was deficient at 208. There was actually some road fund revenue, ACC permits that were budgeted for new builds, but the new builds did not take place. And then there was an ACC permit refund. So total revenue came in at $266,110, slightly off budget at $273,171. Going down lower though to common area maintenance expenses, you can see that each department kind of came in underneath budget, whether that was security at $23,199, recreation right at budget at $13,493, common area maintenance expense well under budget at $125,624, and then administrative expense came under budget at $87,888. So total common area expense came in at $250,204, about $14,000 less than the $264,000 budget. So even though we were a little bit shortfall in revenue, we were lower on expenses for the month. Common area netted $15,906, which was $6,900 better than budget for the month. And if you kind of go over year to date, we're about $48,000 better year to date. Get into golf. Golf had a good month at $271,860 in revenue. Beat last year and beat budget. Pro shop expenses and golf course maintenance expenses both came in under budget. Pro shop expenses were $64,813. Golf course maintenance $126,360. So golf course net came in at $80,687, which is about $13,400 better than budget. Townhome revenue stayed consistent. It's going to be consistent each month, $10,032. Expenses were less at $8,126, and therefore you had a positive net income of $1,906. Food and beverage revenue came in at $100,014, slightly off of budget, slightly off of last year where they reported $102,804. Cost of goods came in at 28%, which was comparable to last year. But then food and beverage expense came in at $68,696, so well below what expenses were last year. You got a food and beverage net or food and beverage loss of $4,028, but that was $10,700 better than budget for the month. So we did see a turn within May within food and beverage. I would expect that trend to continue within June, just because we have a higher revenue month in June than we do in May, and it's already showing we're already above June or May's figures already in June. We still have quite a bit of the month left last time we looked. So holding everything else constant, you should see a greater increase there. The biggest savings that we're still seeing in food and beverage, I know it's been kind of a topic, and we can talk about it in all different types of angles, but payroll is the biggest savings that we're seeing year to date. Last year at this time, they recorded $176,000 in payroll. This year, same time through the month of May, we recorded $117,000, so about $59,000 less in payroll. We do have a consultant fee still in there right now, but as far as the payroll figure line, it is considerably less. Let's see, and then if you go over to the right-hand column on net income, you can see year to date, we do have a net loss of $252,896, but we are, when that's compared to the budgeted net loss of $288,814, we're about $36,000 better than budget year to date. So all in all, things are going mostly as planned. Any questions on the income statement? Just really get back to the back side, the balance sheet. Just really the left-hand column, just I will highlight now, we just kind of ended the month with $1,023,613. About $50,000 better than the same month last year when we had $974,000 basically. So cash is still in a good position. Definitely see an increase here in the month of June. That's all I got. Financials.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Committee report for ACC.
Johnny.
Hello.
Johnny's hung up on the golf course, so we called him and said, "Can you fill in?" I said, "Okay, I'll try it." The committee met June the 12th. We always meet on the second Thursday of the month at 1:30 p.m. We addressed 2 landscaping plans. They were approved. And 2 deck. One's gonna be a redo, the other one will be a redo and an addition. And those 2 deck extension and replacements were approved. We approved a removable fire pit. Nobody knew what that was, but we found out pretty quick that it's a small fire pit that you clean out, fold up, put in your garage, take it out, put wood in it. So that was approved. We had an owner request to drill a well up in the double gated, on lot 17 and 18. They built their house. And they are asking, they asked the ACC if they could drill a well. We told them they need to see if it was okay with American Water. They said it was. And the ACC talked about it, the committee talked about it, and decided to send it to the board and let the board make the decision. It's a decision. It's the way I read it, the way we read it, it's not absolutely excluded, but it's in the language that no wells will be drilled in Stonebridge, so good luck with that one. 18 new homes are under construction at one stage or another, either just coming out of the ground or near completion. And that's the way it's been, it seems like, for the last year or two, so. That's all I have. Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As to the request for the well from Parsons, I spoke with Mr. Parsons today, and if that well is more than 100 feet from any existing Stonebridge property, the board cannot stop it. And he assured me that it is, he's going to get the proper documentation from the builders and supply it to us. And presuming that all this spacing is right, he will be able to do that well. Thank you. And the golf committee, Greg Gummel, or Sarah?
No, nobody's here. What? Nobody.
Nobody? Well, the issue of grandfathered card memberships has come up again. And the committee is requesting that we do away with the grandfathered cards. And I know there's been a lot of discussion in the past and, a lot of, tension among the owners. I am not a golfer, so I'm not really affected by it. But I know Larry would like to say something about it, because of the history involved.
I experienced the event. So I kind of wanted to relate to this. The golf committee recommended that all the owners pay the same rate. And we have a grandfathered rate for those people that had private golf carts, excuse me, in 2017. So I want to read you a little bit here, talk about the background on this and the reasoning that we're looking at here. A 2016 study by the golf committee then recommended that discounts on members' private golf carts did not benefit the golf course financially. And until that time, private carts were given a discount when members utilized them with their membership for both single and family memberships. This was because 60 golf carts had to be bought by the golf course, and the requirements were turned to play. And those carts could also then be used by the owners. So the study also showed that many courses charge owners for an additional fee for just having the golf cart. And some made them buy the same private cart as the course had at the time. A lot of them charged for doing so. As a result of the study, the golf committee recommended that revising the policy of the private golf cart discounts be eliminated, aiming to establish a more equitable and financial sustainable system for all members. However, this was a topic that sparked heated and hostile discussions among members. It was not seen as being fair to all members, but as a surcharge to those that own private cars. Friendships were in jeopardy, depending on whether you were on the side of the private cars and their discount, or felt that private cars were a matter of choice and lifestyle and did not contribute to the financial support of the golf course. Some friendships were permanently altered, while others experienced a significant strain for an extended period. And as a result of this issue, some members even chose to leave and relocate from the course. Leave Stonebridge. Many of the private car owners maintained that the reason they had purchased the private car was the discount that they would receive for doing so. And in that regard, they had been misled and they were very upset. I was a member of the board then, and needless to say, that was a time I never want to experience again. I was one of those who promoted the plan to grandfather those private cars with the rate differential that they have today, provided that they maintain their membership consecutively from year to year. And so therefore, I, in all good consciousness, cannot vote to eliminate the grandfather discount for private car owners who owned their car in 2017. I just want you to have those facts and knowledge about it when we make our votes, because I'm voting to not allow that to be. I don't want to see that eliminated.
Thank you.
Jack? I'm not sure if you heard everything that Larry was saying, or his throat is kind of bothering, but I was fairly new here. I wasn't on the board, but I knew that there was a lot of heated discussion about this, to the point that friendships were lost over the issue, to the point that some members left the community, sold their house and left the community because of that issue. So I guess that's why Larry was saying that he was on the board, and when they resolved it, they went ahead and resolved that those that were card owners at that time would be grandfathered, and unless they missed a year, if they left and came back, they lost their grandfather. And so we are down to 12 grandfathered cards at this time. So it is a reduction of what it was back then. And I guess I'm of the opinion, I know Larry feels pretty strong since he was on the board, that he made a commitment that if you were grandfathered, you were grandfathered, unless something changed drastically. And so that's where he's coming from now. And I guess I'm of the opinion that I don't have a reason to vote different than what Larry is saying, other than the fact, and I'm one of the grandfathered card owners, but if anyone wants to give up their discount, they're welcome to do that. And my only thought was to Bill and the others when I discussed this was, if all the card owners decided if they're going to pay a full fee, then they have a right to use the club cards here. And my question to Bill was, what happens if half of the card owners decide they're just going to park their carts and start using the club's carts here, because they're a lot more comfortable unless you've got upgraded seats and things. And so he said it would create a little bit of an issue, particularly for tournaments. But from day to day, it might not create an issue. And I'm not sure how many people would want to park their cart and ride with one of the carts here. But private golf cart has grown tremendously since back when you did this, Larry. I mean, there's like twice as many private carts than there was then. So that's kind of where the issue comes from. That's why Larry is saying he made the commitment and he's going to stick with it.
I'm sorry, you couldn't hear me very well.
Thank you. Is there any other comment from the board regarding this issue? Would anyone gonna make a motion, to remove the grandfather.
Well, I'm not gonna make a motion to remove it. I'm not gonna make a motion to remove it, but we do have 40 members who have their own golf carts who do not get the discount. So, if we are gonna vote tonight, right? So my vote is, I agree with discontinuing the discount, so my vote would be no. But I do understand, and I have to agree with this, is that in 2017, the decision was made, and it was made based on what's in our covenants. So it was legally done, there was nothing shady or anything like that. But I hope going forward, we talked about this, that we don't consider grandfathered clauses in the future, because I think at some point, it always comes back and causes problems. So that's my comment.
Thank you. But I'm not sure we really can vote on anything because we don't have a motion to vote on.
That's correct.
Okay. So it just dies, the request
If no one wants to make a motion, nothing to vote on everything.
Well, I'll make a motion so it can be formal, so it can't come back up again. So I make a motion that we vote on the recommendation from the golf committee to discontinue the discount for the 12 members who have today on their golf carts.
Is there a second?
Okay. Make a motion.
The motion dies for lack of a second.
Yep.
So everything remains as is. And before we move on to the old business, I overlooked something that Nora pointed out to me. The finance committee has an opening and they have an application from Dave Vanderveen to become a member of the committee. The committee has already accepted that, and if there's a motion on the board to.
Yes, up there.
I was gonna say, yeah, I missed that, and I noticed that it was gonna get up in old business coming for it, but yeah, Mr. Van Veen was at the, last finance meeting as a guest, showed some interest. We actually do have an opening as Bob and Mary Herbst are gonna be leaving the village here in July. Not sure if everybody knew that, but he did announce that, so he's currently been a member for a long time, appreciate him, for all his service over the years. He's been on there as long as I can remember, quite honestly. And he's always been valuable. He'll be missed as long as I'm married. So we will have a new opening. Dave Vanderveen, just a little background on him. Kind of moved down here from Kansas. He was in commercial banking for 35 years. Was the chief commercial officer, had multiple executives underneath him, from loan officer, he's a risk management officer. Just got a lot of valuable experience in in-depth banking knowledge that could be beneficial in times when we're renewing our note or various other items. So he seems like a good asset. Everybody was on board with him filling the vacancy that will be available as of last week. So.
Thank you. And is there a motion to accept Mr. Vanderveen?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor of Mr. Vanderveen being on the finance committee?
Aye.
So be it. He'll be a regular member next month.
Sounds good.
Now, on to the old business. Actually, let's rearrange this a little bit since you're standing up there anyway. You want to update everybody?
Yeah,
on
no, I
the
can.
ATM machine?
I can start off in a timeshare agreement if you want, just follow the sequence.
That's fine.
At the last board meeting, it was presented by Mr. Hassett, our GM, to enter, if he would like, if the board would like him to enter into an agreement with the timeshare association. We don't any longer have a legal battle going on as the case was dropped, but it did go on for 5 or 6 years, I should say. It's been a long, enduring litigation battle that has costed some dollars. It's under new management right now, though, and looking into getting into a new agreement. So he has actually met with the timeshare entity, the association. Part of the agreement really looks like here in the year 2025, we should expect, at least they've guaranteed that we should at least collect $325,000. I think we're right at that, might even be possibly over that with the new payment that we received. And then in 2026, it's going to go down to about $305,000. It has been decreasing, I would say, each year as they're collecting less and less. Part of the dynamics that they're working with is timeshare industry in certain areas have been struggling. And they were sold to people 20, 25 years ago. They might have been 50, 55 years old. Now they're 70 to 80 years old, and their health's going. They're not able to pay. Maybe they're not living any longer, so they're losing a certain percentage each year. So they're having more difficulty paying according to the due structure that was present previously. Currently, I can say over the past, like last year, we collected $345,000. Previous year, we collected $354,000. So if we're collecting $325,000, it about falls in line with what that decrease in percentage has been. We've shown that we can operate with that. So the $305,000 next year would be a $20,000 decrease, but at least going into budgeting, we would know what we're looking at. And then in the interim time, meetings would be set up probably like on a quarterly basis to try to hammer out a long-standing deal after 2026. So it basically gives us some little bit of breathing room, some stability as far as what we know that we can collect before we can actually negotiate an agreement that's amenable to both parties and to the board, and that's hopefully beneficial to Stonebridge and its entity as well. So that's kind of the update as it stands right now.
Thank
you. Mm-hmm. Let's see, next, I want to say ATM machines. So we did discuss a couple months ago in the Finance Committee, just looking at different streams of revenue. An ATM machine was brought up. It's been requested over the years. Never really went that way. Kind of researched a little bit currently nowadays. We did go ahead and go forward with it for the Finance Committee recommendation for approval. There actually is an ATM machine sitting outside in the front foyer. Everything is pretty well ready to go for it. Might be able to have it operational by the end of this week. We did put in a first cash order from the bank so that we can fill it. We do have the GL entries all in place. Received the interface for the statements and various things like that. Have power into it. The port's been ported. It just needs to be opened up on the switch from our IT perspective. So it should be pretty close. I have to read a few more directions before we get it operational. And it's not going to be a world beater, so to say. It usually has anybody who wasn't here, usually have a return on investment for the initial outlay of the machine within about a year. And then you just kind of make your surcharge after that, which will be taking in, realizing 100% of the surcharge because we're going to be filling it and we'll be maintaining it. Machine has like a 2-year warranty, but then you also have not 24/7, but they are open daily till 8 p.m. for any type of error codes and different things like that. So should be active. Like I say, it's more of a convenience factor. Or if guys after the tournament say they don't have cash to pay up what they lost, they can get some cash out of the So we'll see where it goes. Yeah, it's kind of a new adventure, but it is operational. Just kind of got to plug it in and there you go. Let's see, EV charging station. That was another item that was brought up a couple months ago. Bill's actually been researching it for a little while. Just trying to see if it's a viable option. We do see a lot more, it seems to appear you see a lot more EV electric vehicles out on the roadways. I know I've seen more Teslas as of late. So Bill has been researching. He did get a quote from an engineer, and they're about $14,000 per unit to install. You can get a 5-year maintenance warranty or maintenance program with them. However, the 5-year maintenance program doesn't cover all costs, I would say. We did get some insight from an individual who recently joined the Finance Committee Mr. Tim Robinson. He's worked in the auto industry for 35 years. He's had them at their dealerships. They will never install them again. Not only did they not have an ROI on them, the maintenance on them picked them up from parts that weren't covered underneath this 5-year maintenance program. You've also got to change a little bit in the political arena currently with the regime, and then we have auto industry factors. Certain auto manufacturers are actually scaling back the production of EVs or completely getting away from them. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not doing hybrids, which don't require just straight electric. They actually have, batteries and motors, and they're generated or charged by braking and various things like that. Companies aren't getting away from that necessarily, but the automotive industry in a lot of areas are beginning to scale back or not be as aggressive. Additionally, you also have subsidies that used to be prevalent at a higher dollar mark previously. Right now, there's only about $250 subsidies and $500 subsidies, and that's about it, where you used to probably be able to get one installed and pay back with federal rebates, but currently no longer exist. So Finance Committee kind of last meeting seemed pretty unanimous, didn't really necessarily vote on it, but just to kind of maybe pump the brakes on it, evaluate the climate, both in the political sphere and then the automotive sphere, and we can revisit or look at any new developments, so. Yeah.
Is there a motion to table the idea of an EV charging station with the idea of revisiting in the future if things change? Yes, or just us
Drop it, Jeff.
We'll just drop it.
I've seen a lot of EV chargers, but I've never seen a car plugged into it.
Sometimes they plug into it to get a better parking spot.
Exactly.
Now, moving on to the new business, the irrigation well for Bill and Nancy Parsons, we've already addressed. The other issue is Miguel Petrozelli with the builder encroachment issue. Is Mr. Petrozelli here this evening? Find out, yes, tell us what's going on.
What would you like to know? I submitted an email, and it was an ACC meeting, and we talked about it. It was not brought up this evening. So what would you like? I mean, I'm just here to basically ask for help. And that, because I think I exercise all my options. That's about it.
Just tell us what you'd like us to do for you, Mr. Petrozelli.
Well, just put back together my property where it was originally.
You're gonna have to speak up a little bit.
I apologize. Just put my property back together where it was originally. The damage has been done to it.
And what do you feel needs to be done for your property to be back to what it was?
They won't remove a bunch of trees in the construction. Well, the construction, it was a tree got dead, killed. And there was removed a lot of land. About a big section of my property is being taken out. Like about 30 feet by 15 feet, something like that. And that's just what I'm asking. I mean, whatever the county's doing, that's a separate issue. And then my issue is I try to, resolve it politely, neighborly, civilly, but I'm not getting anywhere. So I figure I come here to see if you guys can assist that basically it. And then allow me just to maybe put some trees and make it look prettier. Or put it back together the way it was, maybe allow me to do a retaining wall and cover it all up and make it look good, because there is a big, grass to bear every day to see that damage, to be honest.
The problem that you're having is with your neighbor, correct?
Yes, sir.
The board will be glad to act as mediators with you and your neighbor, but the board cannot get involved in neighbor disputes.
I respect that, sure. It's just that, it's a catch-22 there. Because anyways, what I have to say is, let's see, I want to word this properly. What I want to say is that, you want to get involved on helping me mediate this, but you won't be able to get involved with see the situation with the damages of what's going on with the property. That's what you're saying. If I understand you correctly.
We will be glad either through the ACC or with the board to help you come to a resolution,
Okay,
but we cannot get involved and take sides in neighborly disputes.
well, if you can help come up with a, honestly, resolution, I'm happy with that. A fair resolution. Something that both parties are agreeing to, so I'm open to that. I'm not unreasonable, but I tried everything. I don't know what else to do. Only civil, only never really matter. That's just where I'm at this point.
Do you feel that it would be beneficial for you and your neighbor and a member of the committee and or a member of the board to sit down and talk about this?
I think it would be awesome. It's just that I feel like I hit a wall and I'm just going nowhere. I mean, I'm talking about a huge brick wall. And I tried everything. And I don't know what else to do. You know, I want to forget about it. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I can begin to enjoy my life, retire, and be happy. And I don't know why I got this situation. It's been going on for a while.
As the ACC rep that's here, John, do you feel that you or Johnny or someone else on the committee could meet with Mr. Petrozelli and his neighbor and, you know, at least move this forward for him?
You have it, so you
Johnny Stauffer has been involved in this, we'll call it a dispute. And there's so much out there that needs to be pulled together. So someone from the board, Johnny, myself, doesn't matter, need to sit down and end this thing. There's too much I don't know about it. Johnny has been very involved in it. So I think a mediation would be good. Chuck, or you and Johnny.
Yeah, I would have no problem meeting with you and Johnny and Mr. Petrozelli and his neighbor and try to get to the bottom of this.
We'll try to set up a meeting.
If you can set something up, let me know and I will make every effort to be there. Thank you.
If I have any question, I will.
Anyone have any questions?
I do not.
I guess the major thing is you want the tree replaced.
Just, during the construction, there was, damage to my property.
For the damage to your property.
Yeah, land, rocks, trees, just put it back together and we have it complete. It just, yes,
There's been other situations where two homeowners felt like there was an encroachment problem, and we tried to mediate and work through that.
Yeah.
And so,
I
I
heard
can
it's
tell you,
not,
because I was personally involved with that.
yeah,
And it's truly because of the survey stakes that were originally put down. And so through that, which went on for years, it ended up in a legal battle. And so as much as a board would like to be able to come to a resolution or help you have a resolution,
sure,
we're gonna have to be walking a very fine line so that we do not put the board in a position that we're not authorized to be in. But we can offer to do the mediation to see if there's any opportunity for the two parties to at least discuss and come up with an agreement. But if either party doesn't agree, then you really do need to be seeking legal counsel.
I understand that, but I think it may be worth one more try.
Okay.
And hopefully we can accommodate something.
I just want you to be aware we do have limitations in what we can do and our.
I get it. I don't want to escalate this to the next level. That's why I'm here and I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. John, if you can set something up, just let me know and I will. And now we come to the open forum. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms, come on up to the microphone, state your name, and you have 3 minutes to tell us what's on your mind.
Good evening. My name is Margaret Easter. I live on Hatfield Court. On July 8th, there are a group of local residents who are putting a pool party together for Mary Herbst because she's been our pool person for many years. What is the possibility that we can reserve the pool from 9 o'clock until 2 o'clock for that gathering?
Whenever I received the email this afternoon that the request was coming forward, I contacted Cassie to see if we do have any type of pool rental or any type of reserving the pool. And I was informed that, and even according to the documents, the pool is not a facility or amenity that is allowed to be reserved. So,
We never have in times past, I mean, the closest thing you can get to a reservation. I'm just saying, we never have in times past, just because it is a common element that's available to the use of all owners and their guests. I mean, the closest kind of relevant type thing that you would have to that would be the pavilion up at, the lodges at Forest Lake. We allow a pavilion rental for that, we charge for exclusive right to that, or that's as close as it can get to having your own spot necessarily there, but not the pool in general, because also we have a lot of nightly rental guests, obviously, that are coming through here. They're considered guests of owners, whether they advertise depending upon where they're at in the village. If we have 2 pools, or maybe if they're in the fairways, there's 3 pools available to them. Having one closed down for, that would be something new, for that time frame, just because of it's available to all owners and their guests.
But you can still have a party.
From 9 AM to 9 PM, but you can definitely, I don't know what time it gets busy out exactly, but you could definitely conjure up a couple of pavilions. And if I'm sure there's tables out there. I mean, if you needed some additional things, then you might be able to provide that, like exclusive The closest we've got to that is like owner requests for wanting is early time to do laps or to do some type of exercise, where we opened it up at 8 a.m. an hour before, so that they could get their laps in, they could do their exercise before it was open to all guests. That's kind of as close as it's.
Okay, I just didn't know, thought I would ask. Thank you.
It's not a party.
No, we are.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Margaret.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once?
Hi, I'm Mike Wilson, and I'm directing my questions to Eric. A question, before our yards burn up and the plants burn up, when we will get sprinklers on Cedar Ridge?
Focal point is scheduled to come out tomorrow.
Okay. About 2 months ago, tree service was out, looking at the ace trees and other trees that are dead. And they said that they'd be cutting them down within 2 weeks. Do you have any idea what's going on there?
I would have to get with John on that. I know they're scheduled out. I did see an invoice from 3 different trees, a couple ash trees. I asked him if that was a current invoice. It was actually billed back from a few months ago. He said Advanced Arbor is on the book to take down, and he said 3 or 4 more trees. I can check with him tomorrow, and I can get back with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Just a quick question, I'm Kelly Graham, I live on Ledgestone Lane. When we're talking about the pool, security I saw was under on the balance sheet, that we were under our expenses. What is the plan for how often a security guard comes to the pools? Every day of the week or just weekend?
He's throughout the week.
I've never seen him throughout the week.
We see people that actually see him interact with him quite a bit. He's in at different times.
He's a great guy.
Mr. Andrews, Alan Andrews, has seen him in different things like that. Yeah.
So he
He doesn't work, it's not necessarily from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., I should say, you know. But oftentimes, you know, just in anything, you don't have to control the entire time to get a good sample size that's relevant of exactly what's going on, like statistics, you know what I mean? So we do have a guy, he actually comes in, I think he comes down here in his RV and stays, so he kind of travels a lot, and comes down for the summertime. And sometimes we will double up as it gets a little bit more into the season, but currently there is one guy. He is part-time. so
Because part of the reason Margaret made that request is we do see more and more nightly rentals out here at this pool. And they're there on Tuesdays and Mondays, and there's just more and more activity.
Yep.
So my question is he asking for that amenity pass as
Yes.
it goes to?
Yeah, we're actually gathering reports, and we kind of log that data for amenity usage, so we know what type of guest is actually using it. I will also say that Oak Ridge, so the timeshares pool up at Oak Ridge Development has been down, is not up and running as of yet. We still hear about it, so you're probably getting an overflow as well from Oak Ridge, and I know that their owners aren't happy about it either. So there could be some of that activity. But nightly rental activity, I mean, currently, we're about $2,000 better than where we were at last year. So the overall activity is about the same, at least from our perspective, as far as check-ins. They could be coming with more people in the car, but
Well, and
we track cars.
we see it on couples when you just see a whole group of people traipsing to the pool. And sometimes they come through the restaurant, sometimes they just go in front of the windows. But, you know, when it's 25 people coming in, it makes you kind of wonder who's checking this and are they all really staying on property? And you don't see a security person. So as owners, it just makes us kind of wonder if they're all really supposed to be in.
And through the checks, we find very few people that, very few minute, that maybe weren't or aren't. I haven't even seen one come through on a report. Usually they don't have their amenity pass with them, but they can give the address, you know, and there's only a minute amount of those that do, because we press. I would just say that there's, the whole reason why we actually started the amenity checks with the amenity passes and making sure owners had them and guests of owners, and then this amenity pass function not only as verification that they're an authorized user of Stonebridge Village property, but also gain access to the village, but that's the same pass that they show if we do pool checks. The whole reason why we instituted this was for that very same reason, is owners who were at the pool saw an increase in activity. You may have seen that around like 2021, I should say, 2020, whenever COVID happened, you saw a 3-digit increase in the amount of usage of freestanding units, lodges, various things like that, but not shared by the hotel. So we saw a big increase during that time. And so we developed a system, made sure people had cards, and been tracking it. What we found during that time is like 99 point whatever percent were actually supposed to be here. And we actually have it tracked from owners, guests of owners, nightly rental, and then we also track timeshare as well, and employees. So there is data that Bill can generate. I know he generates it sometime throughout the year and actually plots it on a graph and can tell usage, because that was part of the contention when we instituted the nightly rental fee revenue, is we were hearing that those that were engaged in that activity in their own properties maybe managed that their guests didn't use the amenities. How they do that, I'm not sure, but the data tells a completely different story.
Thank you. Anyone else? Once, twice?
Next meeting is, next meeting.
Oh. The next meeting will be Monday, July the 28th, at 5:30.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor? Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your attendance and your input.
Nice to meet you.
Right now,
You don't see that blue. Oh, man.
as long as if you can control your utilities, and then they can fly. It was hard.
Hi, you down here.
Catch y'all later. Yeah, she's. Straight down.
They gotta get approved, it doesn't, but they work hard and they're forming kind of strides, what they do, outside of that, not being able to communicate. It's been very pleased.
One of them, I'd like to see the president of the rest. It's like this tall.
It's a compromise. We hate it.
So certain things, like I didn't get all the John Street, like I got a hold for the tree type thing, but I think what was going on, like serious being covered for various things like that, Cherokee tree, or anything else. The one that was kind of on your driveway. So, I mean, certain of those instances that are kind of one-off, is what we hear about once a week or whatever, outside of that, or something, I can get a hold of it.
Well, this monkey grass is right by our front porch in this rock area where we have like a couple other bushes and stuff. But we hate it, but if we use kill, it's gonna kill the other bushes. And I'm not happy it's not that tall. So we're supposed to cut it ourselves. I don't know.
My knees are big, big down.
Yeah, we can help out with that. I'll have the guys have you call before he goes up, just so that you can. Because we've had other instances where some people have described something and they're trying to figure out what they're describing.
It's very simple, this time with big bushes and trouble.
Just have it.
Because I can't take a phone call for it.
Well, I can't either.
That's.
Are you still working on it? Are you still working on it?
Under the cooler. I don't have this phone.
I'm in security.
There you go. What's that?
I'm in security, so.
I've seen you in your outfit there, yeah. So, they've been busy here lately? So, yeah.
Okay,
You got any inside word on development?
well,
I'm just kidding, I know they will let you stone it.
yeah.
I'm fine, I don't need any information. It'll be what it's gonna be.
There's another lane coming in from 176, but we gotta have that.
I've heard of them wanting to widen the 76 to a 4-lane.
And that makes sense.
I don't know when they're going to do it exactly, but they know it's supposed to increase traffic flow. But there was a question kind of, several dollars saying, like, it seems like the entrance would be kind of by the bar tower, but obviously they're probably in the back, shelter, you car or whatever type thing. But they've also got an entrance kind of by the door, kind of just out, potentially do, but I mean, that is only the first piece of the puzzle.
Well, see, they own everything.
1,200 acres all the way up.
All the way up, 13. So
They've got
everybody
parcels.
else, everybody else is on like, properties. That's what it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, Eric.
All right, thank you.
Maybe it's probably one of the.
Okay, you let me know.
Yeah, and then I'll go to the car and you see what's going on.
I better not invest the capacity, or John knows as well. Yeah, I guess so.
I see that, I think.
Eric,
Yes, sir.
if you were to drive by Cape Riverton's house,